Yeah, tell me. I had all day.
Okay,
Till the next song.
That's true. Yes.
I'm just gonna make this.
It's because your microphone dropped.
Oh, maybe that is it. Thanks, Jim.
You got it.
Maybe it's like too close or something too. Thank you. Okay, finally ready. We'll start with roll call. 7 minutes, not too. Our March 12th Hamburg IDA Board of Directors meeting, Mary Ann Costello,
Here.
Cam Hall,
Here.
Bob Hutchison,
Here.
Jan McGregor-Plar.
Here.
Jamal, I think, was running a little bit late. Andy Palmer,
Here.
Bob Reynolds,
Here.
Lance Valentin,
Here.
and then we have Mary. Tom is in Florida and Jennifer is on vacation. I'm not sure. Okay, please stand for our pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Motion to open the March 12th Hamburg IDA Board of Directors meeting at 7:38 a.m.
So moved.
Okay, Bob, thank you, Andy. Meeting is open. What I will do is we'll go through, is this okay if I go through a portion of the agenda, then add an item, have a motion to add an item, or
We
should
should
I
make the amendment at the beginning, like.
Motion to amend the agenda with the additional resolution.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. All right. Next item is the meeting minutes from February 12th, 2025.
So moved.
Thank you, Janet. Was that second from Cam?
No, Mary Ann.
Oh, thank you, Mary Ann. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next item, Mr. Treasurer, the financial report.
Okay, so you gotta kind of bear with me today. Me and Mary had some additions put on this treasury report here. So just so everybody kind of understands it. So we had a total income of $3,484.52 on interest in our accounts. Our total payroll was $14,239.80. We had an audit cost of $5,000 was added in. And that gave us, we had some other legal services we did, so that's $5,081 that we had to have as an expense. We had some other additional costs of $456. We paid rent at $800 and we have our sponsorship of $375. So that gave us a total expenses for the month of $21,214.24. Minus our total expenses over income, we ended up with minus $17,729.72 for the month. On the next page, when you turn everything over, we added in accumulated amortization of $4,224. And then we did a right to use assets of the building of $12,000, and that was a negative $4,000, excuse me. And we gave ourselves, we didn't give ourselves part of our new audit, $12,671 and a right to use the assets. So that gave us total assets with our savings and everything and our expenses last up of $912,794.42. And then we went down to our liabilities and we added in the difference and we ended up with the same thing, everything on there. If you take a look at the current liabilities, opening balance, retained earnings, and net income, we ended up with $912,794.42. So there was a difference of $8,000 because of the way we did the accumulated amortization and the right to use the assets. That was a difference of about $8,000. So is there any questions on this? This is our new way of doing the audits.
Yeah, what's the point of that? Yeah.
Yeah, great question. We had reached out to the audit firm as well. The right to use asset represents our lease obligation. So their lease obligation to the town, so that has to be evidently reported. Simply because we did sign a lease, agreed to that amount. So that is essentially like like a reserved expense. And we're like, yeah, similarly, like we've never had to do this before. They're saying this is generally accepted accounting principles and we should be reported.
The lease agreement for
Town of Hamburg. You pay.
for your office, right?
Yes,
Okay,
because they've charged us right now, so we have to,
right, I understand. So the amortization just balances that out. This
It would be
negative 4,000, just.
I don't know, like that, I have the same question, what is accumulated amortization? Amortization's interest off a loan, right?
I think
So
it would
basically that
be,
we've paid that much of the,
well, this is your balance sheet, so your assets and it should balance. I think it's just kind of, is it referring to it as? Accused asset. You should
well,
see that.
8447 plus 4224 equals 12,671. So they must be adding those two together.
Yeah.
So that's basically like what we,
yeah, they're adding the two accounts together. So if, I'm assuming that by the end of the year, that'll be all paid, the negative will come up.
At the end of the.
Yeah, it'll come up to the same as the 12,000.
I see. Okay.
And it'll be a zero account at the end of the year. So whatever you have up there, because it's a 1-year lease, I'm assuming, coming,
No, I think it's a 3-year.
it's a 3-year lease?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's a 3-year
You're
lease.
renting
years.
$800 a month, so that's gonna put you what?
400. I think we had 2 months in
okay.
the last.
yeah, that's 101. So that's 4,000 something a year,
Right, which is,
that's a little underneath that for the year there, it's 42.
4,800.
Yeah,
I mean, I would appreciate,
right to use the building. That's that, I mean, okay.
so why are we paying $12,671 for right to use?
because
That's
that's,
probably the value of the lease.
It's probably the
it's 3
obligation
years.
remaining.
That's the value of the lease.
And they're doing it, like, we had to do journal transactions like to the date. So we had in reviewing in our audit committee and after this meeting, like, we had to do adjustments for interest payable or interest receivable through the year where we kind of, normally we're like close but not spot on, but we're doing, like Mary did, adjustments to the cents. So we want to review that with the committee to just show, what the QuickBooks entries.
yes, I say it's all out of QuickBooks.
Did the auditor
So-
then come up with the value of the lease?
I would think the value of the lease is the amount today of like when they did the report of the term remaining.
All right,
That was
so
a lease.
just the lease, they kept it out and then they, for the remaining life of the lease.
Yeah, but don't forget.
That would be my guess.
Don't forget, we paid last year on
Right.
these too.
Well,
Yes.
That shouldn't be in
that
the
amount
budget.
is times 3, right?
No, it's 14.
The 4224 is times.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, so
For
what's
your
four-
lease, that makes sense, right?
Oh, so it's not $400 even, it's a different amount.
No, what I'm saying is that the reason why it's not like an even number is because they're counting to date. Like, you could have X amount of days remaining. in the
February
term.
only at 28 days.
I'm not worried about.
So every
that.
month, our accumulated amortization will get
fluctuate.
more or negative.
Yeah,
Our right to use the asset will go
Decrease.
down by the same amount, and our
Right.
lease liability in the building will go down by that same.
Right.
So eventually, we'll have 3 zeros on here, and then you'll sign a new lease and we'll
I
start.
got some accounting software and I've never seen that crap.
So, yeah, I mean, like, we've definitely, we'll go. into
Mary,
this
smile, will you?
after. There's been a little shaking of the heads, like, we are, for the audit committee too, if you want to deep dive into this a little deeper. I did, with our auditor, book him for the call for our meeting, so we could call in and answer questions.
I think that'd be good.
It's just stuff, it's like the new way of doing things,
It's
it's
a
kind of.
GASB pronouncement that makes you report it that way. Government Accounting Standards Board.
So that was kind of my question, is this in line
Federal or
with
state?
accepted accounting
GASB is
principles?
governmental all across the nation,
Okay.
all governmental entities, of which we are one.
Sure, thank you.
I got a question. When we read these reports, we always read the back page, the front page. Why can't we get it? We'll read it in order.
In terms of, oh, like we have after the minutes, where we just, oh, okay,
It's just flip.
okay.
The guy.
Can you write that in your notes, Mayor?
Well, they're all
Thank
in
you.
order except for that one's flipped wrong. Used to be hodgepodge.
So after all this conversation, again, the total liabilities of the, equity of this organization. Is $912,794.42. Need a motion?
We have the motion already.
Oh, I didn't hear it. Okay.
Also, accept.
Mary, do we already have a motion?
Okay, so we got Wentz
Second.
and then second with Janet. Any other questions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. Next, Mike, update, and then we'll make an introduction to Tom. Another month where, the development activities in the town are moving forward. We had an executive committee meeting with a potential applicant. So we will send out potentially a notice on April 2nd at 9 o'clock, potentially a public hearing notice if an application comes in for a mixed-use project. In addition, we have working with two potential projects going through town planning right now, developments over on Jeffrey Boulevard, which we may have talked to. So we're working with them and helping them kind of navigate that process as well, get valuation of their building in terms of assessing and then understanding what pilot would impact in terms of, making the development feasible for their banks and for their own projects. So that's been keeping us busy. We have a second loan application that came in just a couple of days ago. So we're going through two projects with the Hamburg Development Corporation, our loan fund. The loan past due, they've made some catch-up payments, so there's been positive progress there. We did work with Amazon, just more on a retention type of effort. They're making a small improvement to the site, so we work with them through the pre-permitting process that we have over the lake at the Lake Erie Commerce Center. That's in that pre-permitted zoning designation.
Will it add to their assets?
Minimally,
Minimally?
it's
Okay.
not,
Just
I mean, in
curious.
the grand scheme of things, it might be a $75,000 improvement.
Okay.
So, compared to the $50 million project,
Right.
over
That's still
there.
an improvement.
Yeah, but it's, still investing. And I know that they've been, as a side, they've been, I don't know if they executed contracts, but they were revisiting contracts for electrification on the perimeter of the site for electric vehicles. So I'm not quite sure where that is at. But it's definitely, something that they're evaluating. Our land site, we'll talk to it more so in the Land Development Corporation meeting. We had some good progress there. Not so much on the site interest side, but on the pre-development side. And going on, we've had still working with the town and now village for brownfield opportunity areas. So the town is further ahead than the village just by virtue of when they started. So this would be, impacting Tom, you can, the value of sites. They have a lot of acreage, a lot of power. This would impact, sites around like the Gateway building, like north of the Gateway building to the town line there. So some decent sites that are underutilized So we'll give some capacity there for brownfield redevelopment credit and to catalyze some growth over there. Let's see. I think that's about it. And then like I said, April 2nd and then April 9th is our next board of directors meeting. Any questions, comments?
Anything to on Gateway?
No, other than that, it's transacted. No news on Gateway. All right, next I'd like to introduce Tom Kucharski. He's the CEO of Invest Buffalo. I invited Tom in. We support Invest Buffalo each year for the past 3 years, I believe. And I just invited Tom in as we talk regularly with both Tom and members of his organization. And I just wanted to, allow him to share an update with kind of current state of affairs in the region and what's going on with your organization. So feel free to share. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, yeah, so I took a 25-page slide PowerPoint, reduced it to 1 page, so.
Home only has 10
Yeah,
minutes.
it's totally,
Thank
you're
you.
tough, buddy. Yeah, so thanks for the invite, so, just to remind everybody, I think the last time I talked to y'all, it was, via Zoom, post-pandemic, so we're, in the notes, it said, well, summarize what happened last year and then kind of talk about what's going on this year. I think that's where we spend most of our time because this is kind of a seminal year for our region and really the whole state. And I say that because I was just in Albany and in Washington in consecutive weeks, so many therapy for that. But we have the Tech Hub, which you may have heard about. That's Buffalo, Rochester, and Syracuse working together to build a semiconductor cluster here. We're kind of in the same boat as Columbus. They have Intel there. We have Micron here, and everything in those 2 projects and Taylor County in Texas with Samsung kind of in the same boat. Delay, parts, environmental review, capital stack. They were funded partially with programs that were under the previous federal administration. So now the new federal administration is looking at all the aspects of it. Kind of a mess. And so we're one of there's over 100 organizations across the 3 regions that are working on this concept, and it's going to take all of us. We have RIT, U of R, the University of Buffalo, and University of Toronto working on it. And we have all the workforce organizations working on it. We have commercialization, entrepreneurial experts working on it. When Micron opens, whenever that is, 2028 or now maybe 2029, they're going to open with 9,000 employees. And we're going to need the entire state and then some to find all of those folks that can work there. What we're focusing on right now and our part of this as the regional marketing organization here is joining with our friends down the thruway. We're working with the universities to find within about 80 different industry clusters and NAICS codes. We're trying to find existing companies within New York that could ramp up and play a role somewhere in the supply chain or the science chain of what's coming, and look at and hone our attraction efforts to try and bring those that cut ingot, those that extrude aluminum for, that kind of thing here, and maybe partner with our existing industries. So it's a Herculean effort. It's just getting started. And a lot of the confusion at the federal level, and then where a lot of these materials or expertise are sourced from is also difficult with some of the international trade situations that are going on. So we're trying to stay in that and try and advance that, but it's not gonna be a sprint, it's a marathon. So we get a lot of asks about what's going on with it, and it's like, well, there's a lot of building that's gonna have to happen here before we can start talking about wins. But we had a 3-year goal, and again, we represent the 8 counties of Western New York. We have a 501c3 and a 501c6 for different aspects of what we do. So we were charged, founded in 2000, to market the region, kind of coordinate quarterback expressions of interest, big and small, and find the best spot for them by providing the best sales proposition and compete against what at the time we were notorious for competing against each other. So we had to overcome that perception with a lot of decision makers and site selectors and that kind of thing. And now I think we have a much better sense of where we are in the world and what we can compete for, and what kind of industries we need to help out, and ones that are going to be new to the region. And that poses the second biggest problem, which is we're out of sites and we're out of people. And I've said that plainly, but it is very true. The CBRE market report just had our vacancy rate in industrial flex at under 2%. That's frictionally, it's nothing.
You're saying that for the 8 counties?
Yeah.
Even with all plant closures we've had?
Well,
In time?
no, that'll be taken up next year, right?
Okay, all right.
So, and I'll get to that in a minute. So what's left is not very marketable properties. And even at that, they're getting interest. So I don't know if you've seen that here, but so what you're doing and trying to stand up sites, it's got to be at a premium, because it seems like any building of any square footage in manufacturing and logistics gets gobbled up right away. And now that our Canadians are back in full force, they are because of land values and the prices and the GTA and Southern Ontario, they think some of these are bargains, and they're looking at properties that we weren't even promoting anymore. So people is a challenge in that there are a number of issues that we have people leaving and we have people coming. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic. And so we have to have the right people with the right skills if we're going to continue to grow as a community. We did after the pandemic, in an effort to try and help this and kind of not spend a lot of money, is we started working with the 71 Bills backers bars around the country. And so we'd send them swag. We'd have a couple of events with alumni. And so far, 3 years of doing that, we have close to 10,000 emails of folks that would consider moving back here. We have a whole website and relocation guide and trailing, it's accompanying spouse information. And so we're actually starting to work with them. That's been 3 years in the making, and just trying to address the labor situation that I'm sure all of you feel. So an interesting thing, as was just mentioned, a third area that we're going to be working on is, and it's not really our mission, but it seems appropriate for us to do it, is the reuse of the Sumitomo facility. So we sent out, after getting through the interestingly timed announcement right before the holidays, we got everybody together and said, if we're going to try and play in these larger clusters, semiconductor, sensor technology, advanced computing, clean tech. Interestingly, they're all in tech, but they require a lot of water and a lot of power. And so legacy sites from industries that are either just hanging on or are closing. And in this case, we kind of knew that, because we helped Sumitomo a couple of years ago secure some incentives with our partners. To put 120 million of new technology in, it wasn't enough to really save the upside down situation there, but we coordinated with the Department of Labor, and at the job fair that they had, over 100 companies turned out, hired these folks. So by best estimation, there were 1,500 people working there, of which 250 to 300 were upper level management. The rest were the core of the plant. Close to all of them found jobs. So and they still have their severance and stipend. So that'll show you how acute the need is for workers in the marketplace. So but what we're doing is, and it's kind of difficult because we don't own the property, and we're trying to appeal to Japan and local ownership, is we sent out an RFP to about 300 site selectors, and they're considering the scope of services for the RFP is take a look at the facility, given what you know, and you're helping companies decide where to go. Use your environmental engineers and your utility engineers, and obviously there's a lot of companies up there, so this is going to be an interesting exercise. But try and get to Sumitomo a list of options that they can feel comfortable with to reuse the plant. Now, currently they have, just as yesterday there was another one, they have six proposals already that are looking at using it, not for tire manufacturing, but the key to this is, and hopefully it'll provide a model as we go up and down the thruway for a semiconductor, is the NIPA lines behind them and the transformer and the substation are very valuable. And so the core building is almost 100 years old, but there are buildings that are 10 years old. So RFPs are due back this Friday. We will then go through, select somebody. I was out there for a couple hours yesterday, just kind of talking through things with the plant manager and some other folks there, and we have talked directly to Japan. So we're trying to get this to them while they're decommissioning the plant, and give them some options. So stay tuned on that. Still a lot of work to do, but that kind of gives you what we're working on in the next year. Today is our first day. We're happy that we're adding a new business development person, and she's from Ireland and worked for KPMG globally, and worked for the country of Ireland. And her and her husband decided to move here. Thought it was the best place that they could find, and so we had out a position description, and she walked in and it was just like, holy cow. So this will help, I think, with our international efforts. A lot of them come through Canada, so we're trying to work through all the things that are going on with that situation. And not surprisingly, if you talk to the folks in Detroit and Seattle, they're having the same kind of silver lining. So a lot of companies are just dropping in and saying, part of our operation, we need to be in the US because that's the market we want to access anyway. Might as well put the facility there and not go back and forth, given the uncertainty around that. What else can I say? So we're about $3 million a year budget. We have 9 employees, and we're 90% privately funded. So we work with all the IDAs in the 8 counties. We're one big team, all of the universities, the colleges, whatever we need to do. Whenever the bad phone rings, and it's like, Sean, hey, I think we got something here that's, and all of our IDAs, everything we do is non-disclosure. So they share deals with us wherever we can add value or give perspective. We have pretty robust research department that generates a lot of information.
Hey, Tom, but just, again, I haven't seen you in a long
Yeah,
time. It's been almost 15, 20 years.
I know it, yeah. It's going by
We got
fast.
2 school board members on here too. One of the big things I always try to drive is the school. Is there a special like classes we could get into our young kids, so they want to college or help out with 9,000 or something, or are we reaching down that low?
Yeah, and that is a huge, think about it, that's how many school districts.
Right.
In the three regions, right, but that is a hallmark of, starting much younger. And making sure folks understand that just because it's a semiconductor, and not every employee needs to have a PhD. I mean, there's a lot of production work, basically. And so, yeah, so reaching down into the school districts is going to be a big part. That's not our part of it. That's the workforce folks in Northland and some of the chambers and that kind of thing. But yeah,
Because I mean, with all
We're gonna need
the sub manufacturing outside of the plant, it's gotta be,
absolutely.
those little pieces, those companies are gonna need people coming out of, it's not a lot of them come out of high school and they need a job right
That's
away.
right.
They don't want to go to college. Okay.
Yeah.
I was curious how they were handling.
So the possibilities, without, it's kind of hard, we're early in the game, but these folks that will supply Micron, and the play is that we're halfway between Syracuse and Columbus. So we could, if you're here, you could supply both of them. Is that there will be smaller facilities, there'll be larger facilities, there'll be facilities that need a lot of power, there'll be some that are more, R&D, fab, that kind of thing. So it's a possibility for everybody, but I feel like the guy in the back of the room jumping up and down going, if we don't have sites, we're not gonna start these companies. So we're just gonna do a lot of marketing for other regions. So the sorting out the whole coal-fired nuclear gas and all the discussion going around how to finally maybe address a more reasonable approach than the climate action law that was passed. It's really a very aggressive target. It's almost unachievable. And what are the implications if you start crowding out power for manufacturers? Then everybody else gets to pay for that. And that doesn't work. And that's the interesting dichotomy here, is that about 80% of the companies that we're going to be talking to use gas for production. And so
That creates a problem.
it creates a big problem. And so we're not an advocacy organization, but we provide a lot of perspective and information to inform some of these discussions. And so when you have companies meeting with legislators and the governor's office, I think it's all we can do to push against the downstate kind of perspective that we can do this for New York, no problem. So that's what we're up to. I will say that we had 14 placements working with our PR group that we hired in New York in national media and international media about the good stuff that's going on here. So that's what we do. We just try and push out information and get us on the map and keep us on the map.
Okay.
So that,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was
Go
gonna say,
ahead.
go on, no, go ahead, Andy.
Just what can we do to help?
I think there is, I think in the one House bill that went in yesterday, I think there is the provision to add a school board member and organized labor to each IDA. And I think it's a really good idea, because I think everybody could really understand how making an investment in what we incentivize pays back in the long run to our communities. There is a lot of discussion around that, and I think one of the things that unfortunately New York is acknowledged for is being not very business friendly. And so fortunately, not because you guys are here, but you're seen as a very logical and thorough IDA. We wish we had all of those, so please stay with that. And then the second thing is stand up sites. We need sites. And we worked with Newmark out of New York. They brought in their DC and Dallas offices, and Sean and everybody else put together like 100 sites for them to look at. And we wanted them, this was a couple of years ago, we wanted them to look at it as if they were advising a company on where to go. So we started with like 100 sites, we got down to 52. And that was 2.5 years ago. 40 of them are gone already. we're in a very conservative town that, you know, it's starting to change. We have the new developer that's out of Bethlehem Steel is JG Petrucci, who's out of New Jersey. But I know him very well because he did some projects at the Bethlehem Steel site in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, where I work. He's not afraid of this stuff. But he's gonna come in and he's gonna give an unvarnished look at stuff, and he's gonna say, you know, hey, we're gonna keep rolling with some of these clusters. We need sites, and we're now at a point now where we're you know, we're kind of working on just power is itself as a site determiner. Is we had one come in Friday that was looking for a gigawatt hour. You know, the Micron facility went where it did in Syracuse and not here because it is the only place in the state that within any reasonable project window, because of the high power lines that are there, that Micron would be able to get up and running by 2029. It's the only place in the state. Now, so everybody else is, you know, the stamp site and all the other sites we're trying to step. Chautauqua County's got some that they're trying to get going. It's like, we're gonna need all of them. And so I would say stay true to your mission, you know, and try and provide product as best you can. This is a great corridor. I live down the road. We're here all the time, so. Thanks for the question.
So the Sumitomo plant, that building itself, they're looking at maybe repurposing the actual building and not leveling it and building a new,
Right.
something new on it. That's
Yeah.
interesting because that was always kind of a, we were always told it was a bit of a obsolete building for the production.
It is.
That was going on.
It
had low ceilings and.
Yeah, it's interesting though, because even though there was an investment
Right.
until Sumitomo got it, and then it was a little too late to. It apparently what it is it's by all tire production standards in North America, it's still a good plant. The bones are still good, and so if you're, you know, some of these companies are trying to go from 0 to 60 in you know 2 seconds, and they need all this stuff around, and they can't build. It's, you know, by the time they open, you know, things will be obsolete. They're like, yeah, we'll take part of it. That's exactly what we need. And now the trick is going to be to try and get them together. It's unlikely that you'd have just one user for the whole site. So we're trying to connect some folks.
They do have water too coming from,
You bet.
from the old NIMO site from Huntley.
Yeah,
That was a big issue, I know, up there,
the Huntley plant is an issue.
because they
They
serve, I think they serve GM.
Well,
and-
do they, so the question about the water too, because we had a change at that GM plant, we had to do we couldn't take from the river anymore. Like about 2-3 years ago, they had to do city water. So is that same thing happened to Sumitomo or?
No, so they're in, I'm not saying that it's in the public record, but so they have a little water arrangement. They have a pumping station. It's on Sumitomo's property, and they service the other guys that are there.
That's what we had too, and they made us not pump it.
Well, so, yeah, I mean, it's the pump is on their station. The power might, you know, I don't know when it's gonna get shut off. They won't be able to pump without the power. I mean, and I said it's a mess. It's a little bit of a mess, but from that comes opportunity, right? So absolutely. Yeah.
So smaller sites, I mean, we're actually a town that's gonna have, let's say, smaller sites.
Yeah.
How can we get, you know, maximize our small site situation here?
Well, I would say one of them is like 20 acres, right? Yeah, so that's a good site.
We need power.
You need power.
We always say that.
Yeah, power, and then, I mean, it's difficult for us, and you know, the unknown is sometimes where the landowners want to go. So like in talking with Tom about the Republic Steel site, it's like 80 acres, you know, and we really haven't gotten in there because like is there a redevelopment plan? Are they lying dormant? You know, I was talking with Tom, like they may decide to reactivate that site, you know, before they go too far along. I think they're, you know, especially with a lot of the stuff that, you know, we were talking about and that you read in the paper, the unsurety, You know, like, so what is that site gonna become a prominent site for fabrication and steel production again? Or has that ship sailed where they, there's more interest in, more lucrative to move that overseas and repurpose that site? So for us, it's a little bit of, working with the smaller sites, but then also, trying to stay engaged. And also, one thing that I did last week was, stay engaged with the real estate community to say that, we're doing things as a town with the brownfield to say like, we want to make this like move the needle in terms on a return of an investment. So if there's that tax credit, that extra 5% tax credit that involves that area, that may be the catalyst that gets an owner to say, well, now may be the time to, cut bait and leave this languishing site, put it to market. And, and then we can get, an opportunity for redevelopment. One of the concerns with also some of the sites in Western New York is they're not greenfield sites. Some developments, they want greenfield only. But, unfortunately.
That is a problem, maybe if you're in tech.
Right.
And you want to say you're clean and you're green, there's an aversion to it. But the pro is, and then, it's light green and dark green, it's starting to get to, it's like, well, if I can't find it, that's good, we'll make something up. And so you gotta be, right now, we have to be attentive. I'm actually talking to Niagara County this evening to their IGA, their Economic Development Committee, but I'm talking to Chautauqua next week. And everybody's looking at, former golf courses. Is there, is there another use that we can have for this? Where's the power? Where's the water, public services, all that stuff?
That's
Huge exercise we're gonna have to go through, and put my plug in for I'm here 25 years now. We're the largest metropolitan area in the country that doesn't have a regional planning council. So when you start talking about all these things, you got to start piecing them together, almost like a jigsaw puzzle. That works to our detriment.
I don't know, it feels to me like there's more righteousness in cleaning up a brownfield.
I was just gonna say that, thank you.
Than ripping down some trees and putting it into.
It's a liability, it's.
I understand.
It's similar to us, like it's that unknown.
But if you want to plant a flag and you're lean and mean and green.
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
Say I
Yeah,
fixed up
yeah.
this dormant brownfield.
Used to be a steel plant, cleaned up, capped. And now doing
Right, now
green
look,
crap.
now look, we have some maple trees here.
Yeah, look,
Yeah, that's valid.
And policymakers agree with that. Okay, well, then you've got to create the
You
right
gotta incent
environment
that.
program. Yeah,
You gotta
exactly,
incent
right. Yeah.
All incentives, my friend, all
it's all
That's right.
regulations too.
Yeah. And
Don't be the money.
It's all incentives.
Well, I will say, I do like, one thing that was impressive, I think, with Invest Buffalo. And some of the other economic developers was the pivot to, trying to mitigate the impact of Sumitomo in the closing. Going forward, and this is one thing too, is, a message I know that Tom and I carry is like, proactive business retention. Some of the steps that, have been taken in the state, are kind of leveraging that exit. So, it would be nice if the parties that came together to like mitigate the impact could move that focus to proactive measures that would say, hey, what are the factors that led to this? And how can we, maybe make some changes to, that we don't see, further exits of companies, of people.
Yeah, we're not gonna be able
So-
to attract anybody here. They're gonna talk to the folks that are here. But how is this going? And if we haven't been out to talk to them, and we're afraid to talk to them because we can't solve all their problems, it's like, no, that's crazy. Go and talk to them. They will work with you.
Or if we don't listen to them,
Or if we
like
don't
not
listen to them.
everyone
That's always
listens
the
to them.
fear. And it's like, okay, well.
So,
that
no, I
was-
think that was great, and, certainly as an organization with our size, we can leverage the marketing resources and Invest Buffalo. That's really, like your core, but,
Right.
if you've really shown on the grant side of things with working with the Economic Development Administration. Again, with that kind of all hands on deck kind of crisis, operation, it was impressive. I don't like crisis. I like to focus on,
Well, we'd like to get ahead of it.
prevention and no
Think
surprises.
about all
I
those
think my board
manufacturers that are-
appreciates that.
Right, so it's a little scary, so
Yeah.
we're gonna try and get out and talk to them.
I gotta get this off my chest. So So I was the president at the time on engine plant.
Oh, okay.
Prior to taking my current position, but dealing with the guys from the steel workers I knew what was going on over there. They were still making money, they just weren't making enough money. So someone goes on because they're greedy assholes and not our guys trying to work with them. So I just want to get that off my chest. They were making money, they just weren't making enough money.
So Hamburg Idea is very proactive. We already have 2 union,
Right.
Yeah,
and then 2,
School.
That's right. No, I mean-
So
yeah.
you just heard 1.
Well,
Everything doesn't have to be partisan, yeah, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
no, it's fine, I mean, that's exactly right, so. But the point being is that we've now kind of gone through all of the low hanging fruit, right? As far as sites and people and everything, now we've got the hard stuff, and so that's.
I don't want to prolong you, and I appreciate coming down here
Sure.
to talk this, but like, I'm in sales, right, construction sales, and my client list is over 1,000. I small business, very small to medium-sized business I talk to, and I gotta be completely honest, I'm not a Democrat. I believe in New York, I believe in Western New York, but some of the things that the conversations that I have run into is that I cannot think of more than 5 people that I've talked to in 3 years traveling around Western New York that say, I love this place, I want to keep business here. I can say the vast majority want nothing else either to be gone or retire. So, and I'm sure you've seen that, I'm sure you know that.
In my own family, yeah.
So how do we start? I think what you're doing proactively is awesome, and your organization and full supporter of it, but that's the reality. And as much as we want to pat each other on the back and say we're doing great things, the reality is talking to people in business is it's not a good situation. So how do you see ourselves going forward to be the New York that I know we can be?
We've got to get, the businesses message to our policymakers, because they're doing things that are just not constructive. Every year, I mean, this is the time we fear, right? We're all watching all our bulletins and alerts. It's like, what did they come up with next? And I mean, that's a strong statement for me to make, but and we were apolitical, right?
Yeah.
The only way we can do what we do is we don't get involved in these are ours or whatever, right? But we're the folks that are here and have to survive this and understand that you can't keep throwing out regulations and legislation and expense to be a resident or a business owner here. You can't keep doing that and expect people to just keep taking it. And we're participating in the Business Council for the state and the Economic Development Council come together, hired a consultant. We're giving a blueprint. It'll be out later this month. It's going to be pretty frank, I know a lot of folks aren't going to like it, but it basically answers that question. Where are we going?
I don't want to put you on the spot. I didn't mean.
Yeah, no,
I apologize.
it's tough because I have to work with all these entities.
Yeah, sure.
And there's a lot of good folks in these entities, but if you're being directed to do things that are punitive to business, I mean, we just expanded the wetlands definition. It's going to take 14% of the developable land in the state offline at a time when we don't have enough of it. Have to be measured in my response. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't get it. Because you're the executive director, you expect a round of applause.
Yeah. Step up your game a little. I normally. Fruit thrown at
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tom. All right, let's move along. So with that, I have a motion to approve our 2024 sponsorship with Best Buffalo Niagara. The funds are in our 2025 budget. The amount is $5,000. Thank you, Jamel. Second. Thank you, Bob H. Any other questions? Oh, was it Wentz? Sorry.
Let the record show.
Any other questions?
On the question?
Yes, sir.
We set at 5, is it time to invest more money, or is it?
I would stay at 5. I mean, they have not appealed for more. But that's something we can take back going in the future.
Just something to think of.
Yeah, something to think about. I agree. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Here, thank you. All right, so let's see here, we are, certificate of deposit. So I did, send an email out to the treasurer and the chair. We have, we did go out and look at CD rates. We have, they certainly went down. We had Upstate Bank at 4.23, Canal Bank at 4, M&T at 3. And then we received notice that Upstate Bank offers a CD rate for 14 months at 4.59%, where we were at about 5% APR prior. But with that, we reviewed and we have a motion to recommend that we do the 14-month period with Upstate National Bank at the approved interest rate at 4.959%. The funds would be available in June 2026, and the amount that we would deposit is $250,000 from the Hamburg IDA operating account.
So moved.
Thanks, Cam.
Second.
Thanks, Bob. Any other questions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, I want to get this out in front of you and didn't have time to this month. We did add an application, a quick 2 questions to the application, so I'll resubmit that next month for formal board approval. It was just in relation to, daycare facilities being provided on site. Again, it's law that hasn't really been organized yet, but it's like we're supposed to add incentives to developments that include daycare facilities, but to what extent is unknown. So in the application form that we're working on updating, and again, I'll submit in April, is, just those 2 questions so that we can know. Like we asked the developer, will there be a daycare component to the facility?
It's not just a scoring issue then, where it adds to their.
Well, that's, that kind of goes back a little deeper because there's no clear law. And we did, I think 2 years ago, approve a regional uniform tax exemption policy. So we, I think this is the start of it. We'll take it back to that committee because, one thing I do appreciate with that committee is that we don't we kind of level the playing field in terms of incentives. So I would want to respect that group and, kind of go with it to say, like, what do we do? In my mind, it would be, it would add in points to that rating scale that determines is it 5, 7, or 10-year pilot. So it may move the needle on an inducement if there's an extent, but to what extent, are they providing daycare for 10 kids or, is it 30, so I think those need to be addressed, but we're at least kind of moving in the direction that that the state is looking towards. And also I know, just in my, activities, it's in demand. It's an in-demand kind of, there's not enough providers for the amount of children out there. Yes.
On the form, is that information, that's on best, that if it is a daycare facility, how many kids, well, so we can get that information up front?
We didn't, at least we'll know that there's planned activities towards daycare, and then we can probe into it a little bit more.
Okay.
And then also Mary did submit, and thank you, Mary, for putting everything together, the agency audit documents. We're not going to approve it.
Okay.
Just wanted to talk to it.
Okay.
We have a committee meeting following the Land Development Corporation meeting. So the committee will review it, but certainly please you're welcome to stay. But also, please take some time to look it over. This is the final form, and then at the end of the month, assuming it's approved, we'll submit to the state and to the town clerk. Okay, and then next is Iskolo 17 Long. I do have David Chiesa from Iskolo on the line if people have questions, but Iskolo is essentially the agency asking for an extension of the sales tax period of Iskolo 17 Long LLC
for 6 months until September 2025. Whereas Iskolo 17 Long has entered into negotiations with officials of the Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency with respect to the adaptive reuse and renovation of the 28,890 square foot former grocery store for ambulatory healthcare services at 17 Long in the village of Hamburg, for lease to the agency and subsequent lease back to the lessee. There has been unforeseen vacancy at the project site, and there is need to renovate the vacant space. So that is the justification for the extension. And again, we would look to extend it 6 months to September 30th, 2025. No additional sales tax benefits would be provided above the approved amount. This would simply be an extension of that.
So there's no fees to the owner of the property because this is just sales tax.
Extension, yes, and it's an extension. It's not an additional previous final.
We already.
Correct. This would actually be, just so you know, this would be the second extension for the project site, but I will say, you know, that they've really like moved the needle in terms of appearance over there, exterior perspective and interior. And actually what happened is, you know, in my mind is that there's been some shifting. So tenants like have seen the space be refreshed. They wanted to go into the new space, therefore it left some space in need of some cleaning up from, you know, and that would be like a sales tax eligible type of improvement.
And I don't think that building was ever completely built out
No.
from being a grocery store.
Well, and that's essentially what our inducement did.
Right.
Motion to approve.
Thanks, Bob.
Second.
Thanks, Andy. Any other questions, further questions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for staying on, David.
Happy to.
Okay, agency policy review. We've made this less painful.
I was just gonna make a
forward
motion,
here.
vote on slate. Can you do that? Is that?
Well,
So moved.
yeah, I will say, let's do it, you know, now that Jennifer's not here,
I really want to know about the travel policy. Can you describe that in detail?
You have the policies, you should have your binder under your pillow at home. If you need any updates to it, see Mary. But the ones listed here, we have no changes to. This gets us about halfway through this annual process. So we have a motion to readopt the following agency organizational documents and policies as shown in your agenda.
So moved. Second.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Cam. Any other questions? Oh,
This one here? Right.
all in
It's a
favor?
Whistleblower policy, don't worry about
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain, carried. Okay. I'm gonna make a quick call to Mr. Johnson. I think that's our next, oh, so we made the motion and now we're in. Got through that. Yeah, I mean, so this would be new business, so I'll get him on the line.
Sean, I'm on that Zoom, actually.
Oh, you're on. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is a resolution, and I appreciate the board taking this on. A resolution of the Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency consenting to a mortgage and a general assignment of rents in the amount not to exceed $5,950,000 in connection with the refinancing of the RPJ Holdings project. So this is essentially a refinance to the permanent financing of RPJ Holdings, which as the sublessee is Johnson's Tap House Inc., the operator, whereas pursuant to such inducement resolution, the agency acquired a leasehold interest dated as of December 1st, 2022 between RPJ Holdings Inc., the lessee, released to the agency and subsequent lease back to the lessee and further sublease to Johnson's Tap House Inc. The agency has now received a request for the agency's consent to execution and delivery by RPJ Holdings Inc. of a mortgage and general assignment of rents in the amount not to exceed 5.95 million to Chemung Canal Trust Company. They now therefore be it resolved as follows: the agency hereby consents to the execution and delivery of a mortgage and general assignment of rents with respect to the lease to the agency and the lease back agreement. The execution and the delivery of the mortgage documents in the form approved by the chairman, vice chairman, executive director, or assistant secretary is hereby authorized, and appropriate officers of the agency are hereby authorized to execute and acknowledge and deliver such certificate. And the agency determines that the pilot provisions shall remain unchanged as there is no change in use or occupancy of the facility. There will be no additional benefits provided, no mortgage recording tax provided as a result of this permanent financing. So moved. Thank you, Andy and Mary Ann. Any questions? There is a fee on this one? There would be a $500 agency fee applying to it. So, any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed? Once. Abstained?
No, opposed. No, I'm saying I opposed.
You, okay, no, no
He's asking
abstaining.
for any abstention.
Okay. All right, thank you. Bob, I'll be in touch with you regarding the documentation, and thanks for joining us there and moving this at short notice.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you guys for pushing me through on short notice. I appreciate it.
Okay, on the unfinished business, if you have any of the annual forms, I saw some of our members working on those this morning, so I appreciate that and getting those in and keeping us in order with the authority budget office. No privilege of the floor. Any call for executive session? Then I will call for a motion to adjourn
So
at
moved.
8:38 a.m. Thanks, Janet. Second, Bob H. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you.
Hey, Sean, just one point. I think when we got folks asking for assignments or anything, they should be strongly encouraged to show up in person.
Okay,
I think it's a little bit rude them not being here.
okay,
I know we got technology and all, but I think it's
okay. No, I'll move that, you know,
I don't know how
honestly.
anybody else feels about that, but
No, if
So,
yeah.
you're
think
coming
we
to
should
ask
do
us to do this, you should be present.
Yeah.
To answer
Okay,
questions.
I more so encourage them to be present, and I say minimally by Zoom. So I'll stress the importance that, you know, that the board requests them to be in person. You're my boss, but I'm also agreeable to that, you know, that they can be here.
I'll just bring my mask.
I'm gonna end my streaming.
I go to Albany, the people I went out tell them wearing masks, I'm like, wow.
Just like the Cowboys did.
Cause they're gonna take
Is that the reason?
They all wore masks.
Wow. They put down that tax place.
They owned, they're the same owners.
I know, but the same workers.
Are we off
work at that place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one day, get out of here. And I miss that.
You know,
Good breakfast, man. I thought I knew why you said no.
as a side,
That's a reason why I stopped telling
I
you.
know.
I do.
It's always good to have it.
From an operational perspective, I want to talk with Jennifer because I don't think it's clear enough in our closing documents. I don't know if we can edit those. Like, so what happens often with these like mortgage consents is like we get involved at the 11th hour. And then it's like the deal is ready to close. This is a $6 million deal, roughly a big deal. And then it's like, well, then the IDA gets like, you know, I want to be business friendly, but
I think we ought to raise our agency fee on that.
well, I think yes, that will help.
I think you
But
absolutely should.
that will be the stick.
$5,000.
But I don't think it's
Because what's the
communicated
alternative?
that there's a process that you need to be involved.
Raise that fee to whatever extent of the law we are allowed to, like $5,000. I'm sorry, you're suckering us at the 11th
Yeah.
hour. You're
Right.
coming to us hat in hand, begging, oh, you've got to get this on the agenda. We can't close our mortgage. Well,
Yeah, on their
maybe
side,
we
I would
should
like,
have financing all in place.
I would like a little bit more disclosure. You know, the problem is, and again, this does go back to them, and maybe I'm too nice. Like, you got 30 signature pages of documents to sign at closing, and it's like, they don't read it.
Well, who
You know,
does?
especially
Did
like,
you read every document that you signed for your house? That's a good point too.
Attorneys,
Mhm.
and that's what their attorney is.
200.
Like, we have Jennifer to protect our interests. They should have their attorney who protects their interests.
I would feel better if we could like get, have it further, so maybe have like, we try to talk to people about. It's the requirements, like the labor reporting and that, we're all. Even if it's just like a 1-page, so like we can put this in there and say, hey, like, it's in 1 page. These are the things that you're gonna have. And, so then we can whack.
But I think to Janet's point, like Jennifer had a meeting to understand what they were doing. She wrote this.
No, I wrote it because she's on vacation. So like we
Right,
were scrambling.
but generally, an attorney
Yeah,
would write
yeah.
this.
Yeah,
An attorney wrote whatever transactions happened between
Yeah.
your organization and Johnson, right? So there's, 3 hours of legal work. We're charging $500.
And sometimes I think,
nothing.
I would say, and again, these are, I want to have a meeting with Jennifer on, like, the person that closes for Shamong Bang, does closings for Evan. He's like, she knows what she's doing. She works for here. She's done IDA closings. So she would know that, hey, there's an IDA involved with this project, and there's a leaseback agreement, and they have to consent. So it's interesting that it got to this far without raising the flag. However, he's sole proprietor. I'm sure he's gone through a lot. I try to,
Yeah, we're like
Help me
14th
something.
on his list of things to worry about.
yeah, yeah. So I think I would like to at least like revisit the topic, and see what could be done, like helpful, and then also, punitive.
We don't want to be a hindrance, but we also
Yeah.
Cover our costs.
should get our costs plus a little.
Yeah, and I think, we have gone through, like I've taken more steps towards transparency, like sitting down, reviewing the pilot pro forma, showing them what the discounts mean and how those operate. And I think this would be along those lines. So I'd like to meet with her to kind of get into that.
Can you put that in your report next month and what you think about all that?
Sure.
How's that? Pretty good.
Get weds and egg sandwich out of the deal.
I tried.
They do brunch. I think they do
No,
brunch.
there's some.
So,
They never invited
Oh.
us.
Too damn loud there.
Too damn.
It is loud.
It sounds like a name of a political party. It's too damn loud.
You're not that old.
No, you know what? It's really it's very loud. Like if you go and you're trying to have a conversation, it's terribly loud.
By the way, they never invited us over to see their place, did they?
We did make that.
we can if we,
Cause I talked to them personally at a fundraiser over there, one of the guys. It'd be kind of nice.
it's gonna
We
be
can
on
get
our
the egg
dime. I'm
sandwich
not
over there,
getting into
Wes.
this.
He doesn't lie. He says.
Do you want box seats to the place?
No, I've never been there, that's why.
Okay, let's get back on point.
Okay, let's go.
We got 2 more meetings left. Okay, March 12th, HNYLDC meeting. Mary Ann Costello, Pam Hall, Bob Hutchison, Jenna McGregor Clark,
Here.
Andy Palmer,
Here.
Jamel Perkins,
Here.
Bob Reynolds,
Here.
Lance Valentin.
Here.
And then Tom is enjoying his time in Florida.
Good for him.
Motion to open the March 12th Hamburg, New York Land Development Corporation Board of Directors meeting at 8:46 a.m. Thanks, Janet. Thanks, Mary Ann. First item, our motion to approve the meeting minutes from February 12th, 2025. Thanks, Pam. Thanks, Bob H. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed,
Abstain, carried. Next item is the financial report from February 28, 2025.
Okay, we had $7,469.53 in interest. Our audit cost is $4,200 for the land development. So we had total income over expenses of $3,269.53. On the next page, again, we did some things with the reporting out. We got our fixed assets at $530,000 as it was before. Other assets we put in is 70 Lakeview, $11,363.64. The estate of Garcia land is $5,894. So we had a total other assets now of $17,257.64. And I guess we had to add that all in because of all the new accounting.
Again, like, but I don't know what that.
Am I the only one who doesn't know what the Ferdinand Garcia?
Did-
Yeah, what's her?
I have no idea. I have never seen that.
Let me go up to it.
From the Route 5 site. like
So
where
Ferd
FedEx-
Garcia lived on, Ferd was really involved in the Taxpayers
Yes,
Association
he
for
was.
years and years and years. He lived on Columbia over by Wanaka Country Club.
We own his land?
Yeah, what,
There was a piece of Garcia's owned a couple pieces, a couple lots on a paper street that were back in that big area by FedEx.
okay,
And it made, when I see that.
so that
I
Lakeview
think
Ave land,
Lakeview Ave. I'm
so
not
Lakeview
sure.
Ave over there, that was a paper street. That kind of, well, it wasn't really a paper street.
There was
It
a house
actually
or
was a
something.
little street, there was one house. That street ran right adjacent to the railroad tracks, super
Oh,
close.
yeah. So he had expressed it, and again, he's gonna be available. The adjustment was made in 2021. The other side of the entry was hitting the fund balance. So probably when we sold the land in 2021, you cannot make an adjustment out of the fund balance. The adjustment was made in 2021. The other side of the entry was hitting the fund balance, and you cannot make an adjustment out of the fund balance at all. So that was his explanation.
We're more interested in where we
Isn't the land gone
acquired
now?
this land.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything left over there. I would have
It's a
thought,
dump site, people just dump stuff over there.
but I'm thinking it's probably it's probably been merged into the FedEx site or.
Yeah, right when you go over the railroad tracks, the second
Yeah,
set of
it's like
tracks
a
heading toward the
green field.
lake.
We used to
To
take
the
our bus up
right.
there to go up to the fort.
People park there to watch trains.
Yeah,
You can see the remains
Oh,
of that
that's the
old
site. I thought it
street.
was the remain of the
Right.
other side.
But I wouldn't think. we
There
own
used to be a
that.
house there because we used to
Yeah.
ride up there to go ride the old fort.
The Fort Hills,
That's
that's
been around
how
a
you
long
got
time.
into.
is
Fort
it,
Hills.
is it part of FedEx property now that they?
No,
own?
I think
We
we
own
own this little,
We should put a little
I'll
card
have
there
to
for railroad watches.
Because I don't know if we do, because we don't pay insurance over there. Like, we
Wow.
don't, like, I'd be a little, especially,
Way to go, Mayor.
Yeah. But definitely-
I believe it is sold, because he's mentioning, what he's saying, there was
you can go online.
a train, it's not. It's, I definitely know, I mean, I'm on that tax map, especially, working with
Right.
that site when we were selling stuff.
So you're saying this is something on our books that we haven't accounted for in the past and we need to have it on our books? as an
Yes,
asset
it hit
still,
the
even
one
though
side
we've
of the
already got
balance
money
sheet,
for
but
it.
not the front side.
We'll get to figure it out, we own it first.
So,
Yeah, I don't think, I think
it was
we
sold.
used to.
So we recorded the income, but we did not record the
Back in
The
two
investment.
thousand twenty-one.
in
And
2020.
we had how many audits until they found that?
Exactly.
Well, I think audits and
I
then
think it's how
also
it's being reported.
the standard of reporting
Is
is different. So that they're like, it's just more accounting rules. I think a lot of this is, I was joking with Mary, it's, continuing ed credit for the CPAs. That you gotta get these,
I just don't understand why if we don't, it's not an asset.
We don't own it.
It shouldn't be on our balance sheet.
and
We
then
don't.
it shouldn't be
And we
recorded.
don't know that,
Right.
but I'm seeming to think we
We
may.
need it. That's the first thing to figure out. Do we
Do
still?
you want me
own
to
it?
get him on the call now? I can call him now, or you wait for the
No,
audit?
How about you just tell us now?
We'll know next.
Okay,
because I will ask, just let you know.
Right.
Okay, so our total assets with these,
Build a house.
No, Ferg died a few years ago.
Yeah.
our total assets with these other assets is now $1,979,317. 1,979,317.85. So if you add up everything at the end, our liabilities and equity, the liabilities and equity in this organization is now $1,979,317.85. Sorry about that.
You gotta practice here.
Yeah, I know.
So move.
I start getting into millions.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you want me to try to draw down that number or?
So close to 2 million.
So we had Andy and
There.
Cam?
Sure, whatever.
Sure. Okay. Any other questions?
What does that mean? Their next board meetings in Aruba?
Oh, jeez. Are we recording?
All in
Mel,
favor-
second that one.
All in favor on the financial report?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thanks for your patience.
Abstained? Carried.
I will feel Lex.
Okay.
Get it all out now, 2 weeks, I don't wanna hear this. I'm telling you right now.
Let's see. My big update, we already had sent out information to the board. We did receive $250,000 from the state of New York in the FAST grant. So essentially what we're looking to do, just to clarify for everyone, what we asked for is to essentially get that land pre-permitted. So that we will, move the site through the town planning process. That this would be then rezoned by the town board. So we'll start with town planning. Working with a consultant, we'll do the environmental impact, we'll do traffic impact studies. And then we'll essentially get a schematic design from like a plot type plan. To kind of get an idea of what type of building will be there. Put it to planning, ideally get recommendations to go to the town board. The town board will rezone into a pre-permitted site designation. So we'll receive a new zoning. So then it will allow us to market the land to developers and saying that if you build within these requirements with this level of building, this like high level design, this level of traffic impact and environmental impact, you can go directly into the building permit process. So essentially you don't have to have your project tied up for, several months in the planning process. So it essentially gives confidence to the developers, it lowers their cost and makes the site more marketable. So the next step would be actually getting a grant agreement from the state of New York, which we've only heard.
They like to make public announcements.
Yeah, they've heard publicly,
Without
and I did see some ESD people and they said we should expect it. So we'll go over that, probably have a resolution. I don't know what you did back in the day, if anybody was around, but probably have a resolution that you would authorize me to sign that. I will sign it. And then we can start with the vendor engagement
Can we
process.
move ahead on the authorization, or is that something we'd rather wait to see the paperwork, or?
You wait to see the
Okay.
What's what land is that?
It's a.
paper. Over by Ford.
Oh, okay.
What's our,
So is this money going into our land development company? We're
It
gonna
would
create
know.
a category on this?
Typically, how this works is, we could,
Do we put the 250 in there and then have
Generally,
expenses off of
it's
it?
you expend the money and then you get
yes,
reimbursed.
so we're
from the
gonna
state.
go out of pocket.
So you're gonna have to pay out
We're
of
gonna put-
pocket and then.
Okay, then we'll get reimbursed.
So can we set up a grant category so we can see the expenses as they go along in that category and keep track of them? So we know what's going on. You know what I'm saying, Mary? I think that would be a good idea, set that up, all right? It's a $250,000 grant. We spent so much on, we're gonna take.
I would set nothing up until you have the paper.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying in the future, until we see it, everything comes up. This way, we gotta do work to the land or hire lawyers, whatever we have to do. we can take it out of it.
I thought we were doing it already, recording all the expenses for that property.
We
So
do, but we could add like another
Just a
GL.
separate.
for
Right underneath it, yeah, so we
Yeah.
all see it. I mean, we gotta get environmental planning. You know, I mean, all that stuff's gotta cost some money.
What are we looking at, about 6 to 9 month window once we get the grant? We get everything complete on that?
And so sometimes.
No comment.
Yeah, listen, sometimes you might not get that grant paperwork for a good year.
No, well, and then you know, so there's a lot of variables like that, you know, the planning process is a variable.
Right.
And then the state process is a variable, so.
Because on that site, that actually, Sean and I were at the, what was it, the comprehensive plan, the implementation committee meeting, blah, 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 blah. They're talking about taking, I think that's an M1 site. And making it a C, what was it? There's still there's talk of what the rezoning process, looking over the zoning. So I mean, that's all gonna have to be taken in effect.
Yeah, and I do think I did meet with it was in the Brownfield committee. You know, I did talk to them and they're okay, like they actually did have some light industrial there. So they were, you know, everybody seemed comfortable.
Okay,
with
because I know that was a question
maintaining
we
it.
had
Yeah.
at that meeting.
And I think honestly, once that was from the time it was, you know, there's been if you pay attention to the town planning, there's been a solid shift against multifamily. So a portion of that site, they were thinking like, almost like where the corner is, like to potentially do multifamily. Now whatever.
Can you
if
say
it would
that
make
again?
sense.
A shift against?
A shift against the multi-thing. So for planning, so they, you know, I think it's more in line, at least with the current leadership, to have that, you know, less impactful, maybe not developed at all. So who knows? I mean, like, I don't know what we're gonna run in. Let's go step by
One step by step, yeah.
Get the grant agreement, get this done,
Does
And
planning
then-
read anything that comes out of the state
so.
and what the big push is for?
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, and I don't know how that all works. Like I'm a spectator, so I'm like,
Okay.
you know, John Q.
I'm
Public.
just-
So I'm just, you know, I'm watching it go through the process. So I'm just kind of, you know, I see kind of what
Loudest
goes and what
voices.
doesn't go.
The planning right now are the multi-family.
You were quoted, Janet, just so you know.
I
Very
know.
well, verbatim.
Okay.
Okay.
Then
So, you know,
I,
not for nothing, Mr. Kucharski, and I loved his presentation, but all I could think of the whole time he's speaking is nobody wants their taxes to go up, but nobody wants development in their backyard. Not my backyard, not my neighborhood. I mean, that's like a huge hurdle.
Yeah.
People have to
Yeah.
understand if there aren't industry and jobs, if there isn't employment.
That's not, what about the Camp Road?
what Camp Road site?
That Henderson.
That's that big Henderson site.
Oh, that's it. I mean,
For doing like, you know, like.
well, now it's zoned for like, I don't even know what the Camp
speed
Road
dump.
interchange
Right,
district.
right.
And it's like, they want like they're, you know, zoned. I'm gonna watch myself here. It's zoned appropriately for something like a water park or an entertainment destination.
And if you go along, if you're driving the thruway toward Erie, just past the hotels, there's a big for sale or lease sign
Oh,
On the water
the
park.
water park is up?
on the,
Let's get
behind
it.
the hotels. So
That's
Let's not
that's all part of it.
Let's not get. People don't do that anymore. Times have
People
changed.
don't do that anymore. Oh, I had
Have
some
you been
good
to the
times
Wolf
there.
Lodge, man?
It does have a little bit of
Have you been
urine,
lately?
At that age.
so.
I mean, it's thinking that could be a site for like some of your chip manufacturers, some of the spin-offs. I mean, it's a fairly clean business and.
Yeah, I mean,
And then it made the
mind
power and the
you,
water
you know,
issue.
so, you know, I cannot. I have to work with the development community, so, you know, for me to promote a site
What site are we talking about, guys?
that may not necessarily have the
You know,
entitlement. So,
And
yeah,
then the
Yeah.
throughway
Exit
where
57.
the cloverleaf was.
I mean, they
And
had,
then it
there was a
stretches back
proposal
to
for
like
800,000 square
hotels.
feet of industrial type space there, and that, you know, was not
It was
approved. Yeah,
Yeah.
so like,
By who,
It-
John?
so-
Henderson, I think.
you know, by
Please,
the
gonna
town,
By
so,
planning,
like,
right?
but I
What
cannot.
else do they do?
Put his car wash there.
I think it would have been a reason, so it may have
We
been.
don't need another
Oh, without the Sonic.
Without the Sonic, yeah.
I don't like the Royal. I don't think the car.
I do gotta go, so.
I gotta
figure-
go.
Okay.
Me too.
All right, next on to, I wanted to extend this to the board, like, would you be helpful maybe to me, like this clearing update? I'm having trouble getting, like, from a municipal, like, approval process of the bids, like apples to apples, like I have like a time and materials per equipment, which I think is the best, like a operator and a type of equipment on an hourly rate. I have a daily rate to just clear the site. And then I have a per acre price.
So I'm sorry, did you put out an RFP?
We did not put out I've just been extending out
Okay.
to vendors.
If-
Because
if
I don't know who will
how much
answer.
are- If it's. What does our purchasing policy?
Oh, it would be,
say? Is it over?
yeah, it's over
20,000?
$5,000. So we,
Okay, so then you have to put it out to competitive bid. You're gonna have to put the spec out, whether you want it one set bid price or a time.
okay. So
An
I will
hourly.
And all the
resubmit it.
stuff that you want done.
And
So-
exactly what you want done.
I have 3 vendors engaged. It's very it's just tough because it's like, different people have different perspectives on the site. It's, so it's,
Don't mind Jet. Jet
so
knows.
I will, I'll send out an
Just real
RFP.
quick to that, I mean, I will, when we come to that discussion, I will recuse myself, I'm pretty sure one of the vendors is a family member. But I would say, who regardless who the board decides, I think it'd be a good step forward to clear the site.
Yeah.
Tom mentioned it, is the DEC came up with vernal pools. So now if there's a little body of water that happens to appear on the property, they can say it's wetlands. Look into the policy, it's gonna devastate development. If you clear the land, it allows the sun to hit it.
Right.
And less pools of water. So we're talking, if a freaking salamander happens to walk through that little piece of water, they're gonna say it's wetlands.
Yeah, so it's
So,
important. I want
We need to be
And-
proactive.
and you-
Yes.
I mean, I don't know if you walked that whole site.
I was out there a couple days ago. I was there. with
So
them.
for years, it just spoils were dumped there.
Mhm.
People just. dump
That's part of my
spoils.
problem. Like, there's all these mounds and like.
So
it's-
it's,
takes-
you have over here a mountain and then here's a clearing and it's just piles of spoils.
Yeah, some vendors
Yeah.
are like, we won't deal with those mounds, and other vendors will work to kind of level it a little bit more, which I like. So it's tough doing that scope of work, like in there. So
Well, we could do time, what I would do in that instance.
that's why I'm thinking, like
Just
the,
time and material.
the machinery and the operator, and then a not to exceed.
And then somebody on site that dictates so people don't do some crazy stuff. So you do the mowing and you get everything mowed down to a portion wherever you guys decide. And then knock it down with a
Yeah.
dozer and level things off and things will.
Yeah, and this is
And I
where,
think it's important that you leave it attractive enough. Where you haven't torn down all the foliage and trees.
yeah, we don't want to
You know what I
tear
mean?
down.
Like, you're
we
gonna
need
have
a
to go
permit.
out, you're gonna have to tag what you don't want taken
Yeah,
down.
well, it would be anything over 4 inches, because that's when you have the permit.
Sorry, guys, gotta go.
We bike,
Bye.
thank you. And then, there are some like trees down, like
Yeah.
around like the perimeter of the site, like along on the fence and stuff like that, so I want that cleaned up. Just like, we're gonna need a new sign over there.
Aaron's
So,
done.
yeah, but the guise of it is to get the sun in there, to keep it dry.
And if you knock down, so another little trick of the trade, if you knock down spoil piles and level it off, there's less.
Ponding type
water.
areas. Okay, so I'll work with that RFP and then hopefully get this done in April. Next is the certificate of deposit for the Land Development Corp. A motion to renew 250,000 certificate of deposit for an additional 14-month period with Upstate National Bank. So we have had 2 terms with Upstate on these certificate of deposits for both corporations. So Upstate is an approved bank with approved interest rate of 4.59%. And then the funds again will be available in June 2026.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
Is
Well, do you want to move it?
So
Yeah, I'll second it and.
Well,
then-
I, on the question, I might ask you to amend the resolution.
That's okay, you can do that.
Why are we only doing 250,000?
Yeah, just because that's where it's like the FDIC insured. So then we have this,
Okay,
and then we have the demand deposit account with Bank on Buffalo. So the demand deposit account, it's variable rate. Well, it tends to be about 40 basis points less than the CD. So like, if we look at this going forward, we'll probably see like maybe a 4.2 rate of return
what's
on
Bank
our
of Buffalo giving us
demand
again?
deposit. It's variable, but
Fair.
like,
Yeah.
it tends to, like, from what I did an analysis on the prior year, it tends to be like 40 basis points under the CD. So
Okay.
so my estimate would be 4.2%
Okay,
would be that, and
Yeah, we
then
looked at all that, Janet.
in that we carry
Otherwise, we gotta
essentially
do a
the-
certificate, another bank for the 250,000, we gotta go over and do all that cost, because it's, you can, it's the FDA insurance.
Have we looked at any of those CDARS programs that a lot of the banks offer? That allow you, they manage the whole FDIC insurance thing in the background. You can deposit as much as you want.
I'll have to refer back because I'm not familiar with that acronym. That may be what Bank On is. Like,
Okay.
essentially it's a demand deposit. So overnight it gets, like, they somehow like put it in another account, get better interest, but it is still insured. Like, the requirement is that we maintain insurance on the money.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know what the Bank on Buffalo account is, but it's
CDARS. is the-
CDARS.
Is that something that college has, or do your experience other agencies have?
Yeah, I'm in my banking experience, right? It's a product that
Okay.
most banks do offer,
Okay,
and it allows you to, so you can get past the insurance limits
okay,
to a theoretical maximum, right? But they manage all that in the background,
okay.
right? It's
Okay.
a little bit less, right? But overall, you can put more money in there and earn more money in your deposits.
Okay,
Right? That's
yeah,
the
it's-
gameplay.
it sounds similar. I don't know, like, we call it a demand deposit account for the bank on, so I'll look into that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, last year, just so you know, I know we kind of scrutinized this stuff each year, but I think we had like 57,000 in interest.
Yeah.
good.
So it's impactful. It's not,
That's,
that's not a small number. Okay,
There's
privilege.
a motion on the floor.
Motion, oh, we didn't vote on that?
no,
So,
we
okay.
had a question.
Oh, let's hear it. When-
So do you want me to maintain that?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
that's fine. I mean, as long as,
Go look into.
yeah,
Okay. But yeah, that would be at about 4.2 is what we'd be looking at.
listen, we made $5,500 in interest last month.
Okay, all in favor? Any other
Aye.
questions? Sorry. All in favor?
Uh,
Opposed? Carried. All right, executive session, motion to adjourn at 9:09 AM.
Motion.
Thanks, Gwen. Thanks, Bob H. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
So next month, everybody is bringing back their audit report.
You can keep them, yeah, but we'll do a formal approval of the audit. I think we could probably huddle up with Mary Ann. I think the important thing is maybe we'll pull
But he's already on the bill.
some of these transactions and then I'll call this
No,
Joe
I'm
Naples with Aloe.
Do you need me? Am I on audit? I can't remember.
No, I think it's
I.
Fine, you're- yeah.
Bob H.
Five?
Oh, shit.